ship is falling apart! We have to get everyone out of here before... Captain! No!
Think you know Starfleet history? You've braved 5-year missions, faced the Borg, and fought through the Dominion War. But the version you watched, the one packaged for TV and theaters, wasn't the whole truth. What you saw was a carefully edited cut, polished for audiences, with the raw, unsettling realities left behind in the shadows. Today, we uncover 10 Star Trek deleted scenes you must see. Lost moments that, once restored, reshape everything we thought we knew about Starfleet, its captains, and its most fearsome enemies. 10. The 3 casualties of regular Wau. Star Trek: The Motion Picture. When Star Trek: The Motion Picture hit theaters in 1979, it was supposed to be the grand return of the franchise, a big, cinematic event. But for many viewers, the opening felt slow and even confusing. What most people didn't know was that one critical scene, one that could have instantly gripped the audience, was cut out. This deleted moment, only partly restored years later in the director's edition, takes place when Kirk, McCoy, and Spock arrive at the abandoned space station Regular One. In the original script, it's chilling. Dr. McCoy, already nervous, carefully explores the silent corridors. A sudden sound makes him jump, only to discover it's just a rat scurrying past. He exhales in relief, but then, out of nowhere, a severed human arm drops onto his face. The horror doesn't stop there. Kirk rushes to help as McCoy discovers more of the missing crew, strung up in a way that makes clear they've only just been. McCoy notes grimly that the attack must have happened only moments ago. Kirk, shaken and desperate, immediately calls out for Carol, fearing she's next. The scene was cut because the studio worried it was too graphic, too disturbing, and might push the movie too far into horror territory. They wanted something more family-friendly for Star Trek's big-screen debut, but removing it came at a cost. Without this terrifying discovery, the film lost the sense of urgency and dread that would have powered its slower, more atmospheric sequences. Instead of feeling suspense, audiences just felt the drag. When parts of the scene were finally restored, fans realized how much it changed the movie's impact. V'ger no longer felt like a mysterious cloud. It felt like a ruthless, unstoppable force. The horror raised the stakes, making Kirk's later decisions, even his willingness to risk self-destruction, far more powerful. 9. Sibok's missing ponytail moment. Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. Star Trek V: The Final Frontier faced plenty of hurdles: tight budgets, ambitious effects, and William Shatner's first time in the director's chair. But among its many challenges, one small cut left fans scratching their heads: the mystery of Sibok's missing ponytail. Sibok, Spock's half-brother, is introduced with a distinctive ponytail while aboard the Enterprise. Yet the moment he crosses the Great Barrier and heads to the planet Sharkari, it's suddenly gone. No explanation, no transition, just vanished. Originally, there was a short scene that likely explained the change, maybe dialogue, maybe an action beat, but it was trimmed to save time. In doing so, the editors accidentally created a jarring continuity error. For a film already criticized for plot holes and uneven tone, this small but obvious slip stood out. Star Trek fans pay attention to detail, and something as simple as a missing hairstyle turned into a lasting distraction. 8. Mira Georgiou joins Section 31. Star Trek Discovery Season 1 Finale. The modern era of Star Trek, particularly the streaming content developed for Paramount Plus, has changed how deleted content is utilized. Instead of simply being abandoned, important scenes are sometimes withheld from broadcast and repurposed as supplementary material. A prime example is the exclusive bonus scene from the Season 1 finale of Star Trek Discovery, which serves as an explicit canonical bridge for a major character arc. One of the clearest examples comes from the Star Trek Discovery Season 1 finale. In an exclusive bonus scene, Leland, an agent of Section 31, the Federation's secretive Black Ops group approaches Empress Philippa Georgiou from the Mirror Universe. He recruits her, pointing out her ruthless efficiency and unique perspective. True to form, Georgiou accepts. While the scene was distributed online, its absence from the main broadcast finale meant that viewers who only watched the episode proper missed the crucial setup for Georgiou's continued presence and subsequent spin-off development. Without this explicit invitation, Georgiou's integration into Starfleet operations, despite her history of genocide and tyranny in the Mirror Universe, appears unearned, random, or simply an excuse to keep actress Michelle Yeoh on the payroll. The existence and eventual release of this scene confirms that Section 31 was intended from the outset to be a foundational element of Discovery's narrative. It provides the necessary canonical justification for why Starfleet would employ a genocidal Mirror Universe despot. The release of this scene makes it clear Section 31 was always meant to be central to Discovery. It also shows how deleted content has changed. In the past, scenes were cut for pacing and often forgotten. Now, they're used as essential lore, filling gaps the main story leaves behind. In Georgiou's case, the bonus scene provides the justification the series needed. Without it, her place in Starfleet looks like fan service. With it, her recruitment by Section 31 becomes a bold, controversial choice, one that challenges the very ideals of the Federation. 7. Bashir and Garak's Last Goodbye. DS9, What You Leave Behind. The Deep Space Nine finale, What You Leave Behind, is celebrated for its emotional depth and satisfying resolution to the Dominion War. One of the most cherished and complex relationships in the entire series is that between Dr. Julian Bashir and the Cardassian exile/spy, Elim Garak. Their final interaction is a moment of profound closure, yet millions of viewers have never seen it in their official viewing of the episode. The deleted scene features Bashir and Garak sharing a heartfelt farewell as Garak prepares to return to Cardassia to lead the reconstruction of his ravaged homeworld. The scene is short, but packed with unspoken history and mutual respect, solidifying their unique, highly complex friendship. This final emotional beat is critical for the character arcs of both men. The emotional resolution of their relationship, often cited as one of the franchise's best, is actively diminished by its removal. The tragic removal of this scene is not due to directorial choice or pacing within the film itself, but rather a persistent archival error known as the syndication cut. When feature-length episodes of 1990s Trek, like DS9 and TNG, were prepared for broadcast reruns, they were often split into 2-hour-long segments. This required the removal of several minutes of content, including quiet character moments, to make room for 2 sets of opening credits, 2 sets of closing credits, recap sequences for the start of Part 2, and additional commercial breaks necessary for the revised time slot. The fundamental problem arises because many modern streaming platforms, including Paramount+, inexplicably utilize these inferior, time-compressed, syndicated masters, even though streaming environments impose no time slot restrictions. This passive archival choice actively degrades the narrative integrity of the show's climax for current viewers. This scenario shows a structural failure in digital content migration. While viewers could previously rely on DVD or VHS releases for the full intended cut, the default streaming version often presents a compromised experience. The loss of Garak's and Bashir's final exchange, along with another beloved moment where Kira, Damar, and Garak share a moment of laughter during their infiltration, strips the climax of its emotional texture. Viewers in some regions reported that earlier streaming partners, such as Netflix UK, included the full scene, further pointing out the arbitrary nature of which masters are used. Most deleted scenes weaken a story, but this next scene may have saved Star Trek's future. 6. Scotty refuses the future. TNG Relics. In the Next Generation episode, Relics, Chief Engineer Montgomery Scotty is rescued from a transporter loop and revived in the 24th century. Originally, the script included a quiet but powerful moment. Counselor Troy offers Scotty counseling, and more importantly, the chance to learn the ultimate fates of his old crewmates, Kirk, McCoy, Sulu, and the rest of the Enterprise. Scotty turns her down, admitting he isn't ready to hear it. Writer Ronald D. Moore made the choice to cut this scene. Why? Because answering the question for some characters would mean answering it for all of them. And once those fates were locked in, future writers would lose the freedom to bring those legends back, whether in films, spin-offs, or future cameos. That cut turned out to be a masterstroke. It preserved mystery around the original series crew, allowing moments like Kirk's return in Generations and references to McCoy and others down the line. By protecting ambiguity, Moore gave the franchise room to grow. The trade-off was a small continuity hiccup. Without the counseling scene, Troy's warm farewell to Scotty, complete with a kiss, felt sudden, almost unearned. Still, the long-term payoff outweighed the flaw. 5. Nero's Klingon interrogation, Star Trek 2009. The 2009 Star Trek reboot introduced a new timeline, the Kelvin timeline, and the vengeful Romulan villain, Nero, Eric Bana. While the film was critically and commercially successful, it contained a massive, unexplained plot hole: the 25-year gap between Nero's arrival through the black hole and his reappearance to destroy Vulcan. This gap, which significantly shapes Nero's character and motivations, was explained entirely in a lengthy, deleted scene. The sequence depicts Nero and the crew of the mining vessel Narada being captured and imprisoned on a Klingon penal colony, likely Rura Penthe, mentioned in Star Trek VI. During his imprisonment, Nero is brutally interrogated by a Klingon intelligence officer. This Klingon is highly noteworthy. Rather than the typically roaring, impulsive warriors often depicted on screen, this officer is calm, articulate, and strategically sharp. The scene was excised by director J.J. Abrams to streamline the pace and maintain the focus on the main protagonists, Kirk and Spock. While the deleted Klingon interrogation scene provided crucial backstory, it was cut for pacing. The result, however, was a massive gap in the film's logic. Without it, Nero's 25-year wait makes little sense, and his survival and strategy feel unjustified. Fans had to dig into the bonus features just to grasp the villain's true motivation. What makes this scene so important goes beyond Nero. First, it shows a rare, intellectual Klingon officer, something far deeper than the usual angry warrior stereotype. Second, it reshapes how we see the Kelvin timeline itself. In classic Star Trek, the Federation had never seen a Romulan before Balance of Terror, yet in the Kelvin films, they clearly recognize them. The deleted scene helps explain why. The Kelvin universe may not just be a split in time, but a fully parallel reality with its own altered history. By cutting it, the film kept its pace, but lost the explanation that made its entire timeline make sense. 4. Colonel West's unmasking, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country was meant as a powerful farewell to the original crew, a story about fragile peace between the Federation and the Klingons. The film reveals a conspiracy to sabotage that peace through assassination, but one deleted scene changes the story in a dramatic way. In the climax, a masked Klingon assassin is caught after trying to kill the Federation president. In the theatrical cut, the mask stays on, leaving the conspiracy tied mostly to alien factions. But in the director's cut, the assassin is unmasked and revealed as Colonel West, a high-ranking Starfleet officer we had seen earlier in the film. The decision to cut this moment likely came down to pacing and protecting the Federation's image. By removing West's reveal, the final cut softens the idea of corruption inside Starfleet and shifts the blame toward the Klingons and Romulans. But this deletion came at a cost. With West's unmasking, the story gains sharper political weight. It shows that opposition to peace wasn't just from outsiders, it ran deep within the Federation itself, right up to Starfleet Command. That restoration transforms the movie's message. Instead of a simple tale of interspecies hatred, it becomes a darker commentary on how political establishments cling to conflict. The eventual treaty feels less like a clean victory and more like a hard-won compromise against powerful forces on both sides. 3. Spock's Tear for V'Ger, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. The single most pivotal deleted scene in the original series film era concerns Mr. Spock in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. This moment, often discussed as the philosophical key to the film, occurs when Spock penetrates the massive V'Ger entity and mind melds with the colossal machine intelligence. In the moment of connection, Spock sheds a single tear. Crucially, this physical manifestation of emotion is paired with dialogue removed from the theatrical cut. Spock explains to Kirk the profound tragedy he has witnessed, that V'Ger, in its quest for pure knowledge and ultimate logic, has found only emptiness and has failed to find its purpose. Spock recognizes his own reflection in the colossal machine. He confesses his regret that while he sought the ultimate logic of Kolinar, V'Ger has not found purpose, and now, because of what we are planning, will not. The theatrical cut removed both the tear and the preceding dialogue. This deletion was a direct consequence of the film's difficult post-production, where elements were removed rapidly in the push for release. By removing this emotional and philosophical core, the theatrical film severely hampered the audience's ability to understand Spock's arc and, more importantly, Kirk's subsequent decision. Spock's realization that logic without connection is hollow is the pivot point of the entire crisis. It is this profound truth that causes Kirk to cancel the self-destruct sequence, telling Scotty, "We're holding off. There may be a chance." Without the deleted scene, Spock's realization and Kirk's subsequent actions feel abrupt and unjustified. The film sacrifices the deep, introspective conflict, logic versus emotion, for a superficial spectacle, leading to the criticism that the theatrical TMP felt cold and confusing. The later restoration of this scene in Robert Wise's The Director's Edition, 2001, instantly provided the narrative depth the film desperately needed. The tear signifies Spock's understanding that his chosen path to pure logic, Kolinar, mirrors V'Ger's vast, unfeeling existence. He stares into the abyss of emotionless perfection and rejects it. This scene is essential because it is the fundamental proof that Spock has chosen friendship and human connection over the sterile perfection of pure logic, cementing his ultimate destiny within the original series crew. 2. Savik's suppressed grief. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Lieutenant Savik, Kirstie Alley, introduced in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, immediately stands out due to her visible struggle with emotion during the infamous Kobayashi Maru simulation. Later, at Spock's funeral, she is seen openly weeping. In the context of the film, this emotional display is highly uncharacteristic of a fully dedicated Vulcan officer. The original script provided a straightforward explanation for this behavior, a detail that was ultimately removed, causing decades of canonical confusion. The deleted dialogue would have explicitly established Savik's background. She was written as half Vulcan and half Romulan. Romulans, unlike their Vulcan cousins, do not typically suppress their emotions. Savik's internal conflict, her difficulty in mastering Vulcan logic, and her visible grief at the funeral was a direct result of her mixed heritage. Director Nicholas Meyer ultimately decided during post-production to cut the dialogue that established Savik's Romulan ancestry. The cut was made primarily for tonal simplicity. Meyer preferred Savik to be presented as a purely Vulcan character who was simply struggling to achieve the discipline of logic, rather than a mixed heritage individual inherently battling biological urges. This choice was solidified when Robin Curtis took over the role for subsequent films, portraying Saavik with the expected stoicism of a full Vulcan. However, the consequence was a significant canonical gap. Film viewers were left wondering why this particular Vulcan trainee could not control her grief or her fear, undermining the strict adherence to logic established for the species. The deletion stripped away the most compelling aspect of Saavik's character, her dual nature. Fans who read the novelization knew the truth, creating a divide between printed and visual canon. Furthermore, keeping her half-Romulan heritage would have provided a powerful foundation for her character in the subsequent films. Indeed, early script drafts for Star Trek VI intended for Saavik to be the Starfleet traitor, a decision that would have been deeply justified by her compromised heritage and her willingness to defy Federation ideals, a role eventually transferred to the character Valoris. The deletion demonstrates how a choice to simplify a character for immediate viewing resulted in the loss of profound, long-term storytelling potential. 1. Data's anxious moment. Star Trek First Contact. Star Trek First Contact is often called the best next-generation film, a thrilling mix of action, suspense, and Captain Picard's battle with Borg trauma. But one deleted scene stripped away a quiet, vital character moment for Lieutenant Commander Data. During the Borg's invasion of the Enterprise E, Data is fighting under extreme stress. With his emotion chip active, he suddenly confesses to Picard, "Captain, I believe I am feeling anxiety. It is an intriguing sensation, a most distracting." Before he can unravel, Picard orders him to deactivate the chip. Data complies instantly, and Picard admits with a sigh, "Data, there are times when I envy you." The scene was cut for pacing, but without it, audiences never see the reason behind Data's calm, tactical focus in the battle that follows. In truth, he wasn't conquering fear, he had simply shut it off. That missing beat also changes how we view his later encounter with the Borg Queen. On screen, his sudden connection to her feels abrupt. In the deleted version, we know he had deliberately silenced all other emotions, leaving him vulnerable only to the ones she could exploit: curiosity, desire, temptation. This cut reflects a larger problem with the TNG films, trading character depth for action spectacle. Where the series thrived on introspection, the movies often pushed that aside for battles and explosions. Data's lost moment of anxiety was more than character color. It showed the struggle at the core of his arc. Emotions weren't simply gifts to embrace or tools to exploit. They were dangerous, powerful forces he constantly had to manage. And that's the power of deleted scenes. They're not just extras on a DVD menu. They're glimpses into the darker, richer version of Star Trek. So which of these essential cutaway moments do you believe should have absolutely stayed in the final cut? Let us know your pick in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us again for more content like this.